For your ears only for the week of March 4th and Super Tuesday, I'm David Alpern.
I'm Eddie Robinson.
You know, we came into the backyard of one of my opponents in a race that everyone said, well, just ignore, you have really no chance here. And the people of Michigan looked into the hearts of the candidates, and all I have to say is, I love you back. Thank you.
I'm not for the bill, but look, the idea of presidential candidates getting into questions about contraception within a relationship between a man and a woman, a husband and wife, I'm not going there.
Listening to Rick Santorum last week, you might almost think he'd ridden a recent advantage in the polls to victory in Michigan's Republican presidential primary, instead of losing narrowly to the free-spending, largely negative campaign of native son Mitt Romney. But Romney's slim edge did continue to raise questions about his ability to connect with voters going into this week's 10-state Super Tuesday voting. And Romney tripped over his tongue yet again by revealing his true feeling about conservative views on contraception.
Romney later backtracked, saying he really was for a Senate Republican bill that would let any employer deny workers any form of insurance coverage to which it had religious or moral objections. Democrats ultimately beat that bill back, but the polarizing partisanship it revealed helped prompt Maine's moderate GOP Senator Olympia Snowe to announce her retirement. And the issue gained more momentum when conservative fulminator Rush Limbaugh denounced as a slut and prostitute the Georgetown Law School student who testified on Capitol Hill about the need for contraception coverage. Even National Republican Senatorial Committee Vice Chairman Carly Fiorina denounced it as insulting, incendiary, and a distraction.
To consider all this and more for your ears only, we're joined again by TV commentator and Newsweek Daily Beast contributor Eleanor Clift. Welcome back to the program.
Glad to be with you, David.
Has Limbaugh's going over the line made social issues even more a part of the campaign and more of a weight on Republican prospects, given poll data showing a majority of Americans, women, even Catholic women, protective of rights to contraception?
I don't see any Republicans stepping forward to defend Rush Limbaugh, and at least three of his advertisers have backed out. So Limbaugh really did go out over the line on this one. And I think the Republicans have been trying to get back to economic issues, and Limbaugh keeps the social issues alive, as does Rick Santorum's candidacy. Even though he goes into Super Tuesday presenting himself as the grandson of a miner and somebody who understands the needs of working class people, he is an activist on social issues, and he gets asked about them everywhere, and it's really come to define his candidacy. And I must say, I think Republicans are worried that anybody under the age of, 35 are going to look at this discussion about contraceptives and, wonder what planet these people are on, because this has been a settled issue for at least two generations.
How important was that Senate amendment on moral objections and employee insurance to Olympia Snowe's decision to retire?
She only gave a couple hours' notice to the Senate leader and to the head of the Senatorial Campaign Committee. So although I'm sure she'd been pondering a decision to leave for some time, it looks as though that really drove her around the bend. Olympia Snowe was the only Republican who crossed the aisle to vote with the Democrats in blocking the so-called Blunt Amendment. And I think it epitomized the difficulty she was having as a moderate, pro-choice Republican in a party that was demanding unanimity on these kinds of issues. And the pressure that she was getting from the leadership to vote the party line, and then the pressure at home facing a Tea Party candidacy in the primary, she evidently decided that she'd had enough. And so she adds her name to a lengthening list of moderates who have left the Congress from both parties, but dominantly from the Republicans.
What does Snowe's retirement mean for Democratic chances to win her seat and hold on to a Senate majority?
Well, Maine is a Democratic state. She's probably the only person who could hold on to that seat for the Republicans, and so all the handicappers are now putting Maine into the lean Democrat column. And the Republicans need 4 seats to gain the majority. And the fact that they can no longer count on keeping Maine, And then you look at Massachusetts, where Scott Brown is facing a very tough challenge from Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts, which is a state that votes Democratic in a presidential year. And so you've got to say the odds are at least even there that Warren could take back that seat. And then you had Bob Kerrey, blast from the past, announce that he would run for the Senate in Nebraska. He's a Democrat, very popular in the state, and that seat otherwise would automatically go to a Republican. The Democrats have a chance there. So that 4-seat pickup that the Republicans need suddenly doesn't look as easy as it did just a few weeks or months ago.
What did the shape of Romney's just enough win in Michigan tell you about his strengths and weaknesses going into Super Tuesday, especially in the key state of Ohio?
I look at Mitt Romney and I think that, he's great at the demolition derby. I mean, he has lots of money, can put up a lot of ads against whoever challenges him. He's done away with Rick Perry and Newt Gingrich, and he's now working pretty hard on Rick Santorum. But he has yet to offer a really positive, compelling vision of himself. And so the Republicans are very slow to rally behind him. He doesn't really inspire a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And, I think he's still the likely nominee, but this long process has not done him any favors.
Well, many analysts say that new rules for awarding delegates on a proportional basis may keep anyone from a commanding lead for quite some time, raising more questions about GOP strength against President Obama, maybe turning the Republicans to a nominee not even in the race yet. What's your view on that? Are there realistic alternatives?
Well, they do revert back to winner-take-all primaries. I think it's still pretty likely that they're going to choose their nominee the regular way, but you're going to hear continued chatter about the possibility that some miracle worker will emerge at the convention if Romney or Santorum can achieve that 1,144. There could be some horse trading. Ron Paul's little pile of delegates could suddenly become very important. But who could jump in at the end that would suddenly excite the party? Everybody that's talked about has some flaws, and so I think the party's probably going to have to reconcile itself to the fact that they've got the man that was considered inevitable from the beginning. He doesn't look inevitable now, but he looks pretty evitable, if we can make that slight distinction.
TV commentator Eleanor Clift is also a Newsweek Daily Beast contributor. Her books include Madam President, Shattering the Last Glass Ceiling, and 2 Weeks of Life, a memoir of love, death, and politics.
Quote from the news, there has to be a serious understanding, there has to be real trust, and so far I don't think it's there. That was Anti-Defamation League National Director Abraham Foxman on the scheduled meeting between President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, mainly on their differences over military action to halt Iran's nuclear program.
Next, can Syria be saved? For your ears only.